NBA has the slogan, "Where amazing happens for a reason." It perfectly describes what you've seen in the past, are seeing now in the present, and what you will see in the future, from the world's most gifted and talented athletes.
Square Garden. This is a 38 sellout crowd, and they have been reacting.
For over half a century, the athletes in the NBA have entertained us to our heart's content, and made feats that we can only dream about. The NBA has a long and storied history filled with shocking feats of athleticism, boneheaded moments, and a serious lack of impulse control. So to honor the wild and occasionally absurd history of the NBA, let's sit down and take a look back at the craziest moments of them all. They might not have resulted in any championships, and stuffy old dudes just want to ignore them, but these 9 moments were as exciting as any windmill dunk, and in some cases even changed the league as a whole. We will take a look at a few of them. Willis Reed rallies the Knicks to victory. The Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks found themselves tied 3-3 going into Game 7 of the 1970 NBA Finals. Things weren't looking too good for the Knicks though. All-star center Willis Reed had suffered a muscle tear in his right thigh during Game 5.
No victory for the New York Knicks, doing it without Willis Reed, moving in front 3 games to 2 in the world.
Apparently being done the same season. After watching his team lose Game 6 from the sidelines, Reed shocked everyone in Madison Square Garden when he hobbled out for warm-ups before Game 7. Despite his severely injured leg, Reed ended up starting and even scored the first 4 points for the Knicks. His presence on the court provided his team with an emotional rush, giving them the confidence to ultimately win the game and the championship. Charles Barkley spits on a little girl. Remember, Charles Barkley is not a role model, even by his own admission. Still, as one of the more recognizable ambassadors of the game, it's easy to forget that Sir Charles was a fiery, passionate player who occasionally lost his cool on the court. One such example came in 1991 in a game against the New Jersey Nets. Upset at the racial heckling of a Nets fan, Barkley lashed out by trying to spit on him. Unfortunately, Barkley missed and his spit hit a little girl sitting courtside. Barkley was suspended for the game and fined $10,000. This story has a happy ending though. Barkley ultimately befriended the girl and made sure she and her family had tickets to many future games. Number 5. It's Miller time. For a time in the 1990s, perhaps no person was more hated in New York City than Reggie Miller. The New York Knicks and Miller's Indiana Pacers met in the playoffs a total of 6 times between 1993 and 2000, fueling one of the better rivalries in sports, and routinely pitting Miller squarely against prominent Knicks fan Spike Lee. This rivalry culminated into a truly epic performance by Miller in Game 1 of the 1995 Eastern Conference Second Finals. With the Pacers down 6 points with only 18.7 seconds left in the game, Miller was able to miraculously score 8 points in 9 seconds, capping off one of the quickest rallies in postseason history. The Pacers would ultimately win the series. Malice at the Palace. On November 19, 2004, at the Palace of Auburn Hills, home of the Detroit Pistons, one of the most infamous brawls in the history of the league took place. With only 45.9 seconds left in the game, a fight broke out on the court between several Pistons and Pacers players. However, it was after that initial fight that things really got crazy. While Pacers player Ron Artest was lying on the scorer's table, a fan threw a drink from the stands at him. This led Artest to enter the crowd, sparking a massive brawl between players and fans that leaked out onto the court. In the aftermath, 9 players were suspended for a total of 146 games. 5 players were charged with assault and eventually sentenced to a year of probation and community service.
Has made the NBA what it is today, the best sport in the world.
5 fans also faced criminal charges. The brawl ultimately led to an increase in security at NBA games and a limit to the sale in alcohol sold at games. Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. There were no video recordings of the game, but what took place on March 2, 1962 in Philadelphia is still talked about today. It was on that date that NBA legend Wilt Chamberlain of the Philadelphia Warriors set the league's single-game scoring record against the New York Knicks, putting together one of the most famous performances in sports history.
He got around a pick. Here's a 3. Reggie Miller.
It was in this game that Chamberlain put up a mind-boggling 100 points that really makes this stat impressive. and is less than 10 years prior, the league was actually in serious trouble as it struggled to attract fans amidst low-scoring, boring games. The introduction of a shot clock sped up the game, paving the way for high-scoring games like this to take place. Chamberlain's 100-point masterpiece has yet to be matched. Vernon Maxwell punches fan, 1995. It's one thing to punch the other dudes on the court, but when you start opening a can of whoop-ass on your fans, you've kicked the crazy up a notch. But that's what Vernon Maxwell did in 1995 when he ran into the stands in Portland and punched a man in the face, breaking his jaw.
Fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for three.
Because that dude was talking too much shit. Amazingly, Maxwell was suspended for only 10 games again. Imagine what would happen to him if he did this now and was fined 20 grand. The best part is that Vernon's lawyer defended him with the classic "he was asking for it" technique, claiming that the dude deserved it because he was dropping certain slurs. I'm sure we can all guess what they were, sadly, and that he would have done the same thing. Damn, even Mad Max's lawyer was gangsta. Derek Fisher's 0.4-second comeback. How long does it take to catch a basketball, turn and shoot it? Well, Derek Fisher answered that question back in Game 5 of the 2004 Western Conference semifinals. Fisher's Lakers were playing the defending champion San Antonio Spurs. With the series tied at 2, both teams were after that crucial go-ahead victory. With 11 seconds left in the game, Kobe Bryant hit a jump shot to put the Lakers up 72-71. Not to be outdone, Tim Duncan then made a fadeaway 18-footer over Shaquille O'Neal to give the Spurs a 73-72 lead with 0.4 seconds on the clock. After 3 consecutive timeouts, Gary Payton finally was able to inbound the ball for the Lakers, finding Fisher, who proceeded to hit a game-winning turnaround shot at time expired.
You basically had to play for overtime if you're the Pacers in that situation.
Fisher ran off the court, unsure if the shot would count. After a long look on video by the referees, it was determined that the basket was good. The Lakers closed out the Spurs in Game 6. Countless memorable moments have taken place on the NBA's grandest stage. This is what did it. This is what set it off. Player behavior have been under the microscope ever since, and it's thanks to large parts to this, the craziest moment in NBA history.